Are animals getting the COVID-19 vaccine before people are? That's the claim we're looking at today. Why are we verifying this? Well, headlines about vaccines for apes in the San Diego Zoo led to posts like these, questioning how animals were getting the vaccines while millions of people are still without access. Our sources for this verify are the San Diego Zoo, the USDA, and Bill Price, the VP of Communications for Zoetis, a company that makes vaccines for animals. So the answer is fairly straightforward. Yes, great apes at the San Diego Zoo recently received vaccines against COVID-19, but they weren't the same vaccines humans are getting. Instead of one of the Pfizer, Moderna, or Johnson & Johnson vaccines, the apes received a shot developed by Zoetis.
This is not a vaccine that's applicable to human health. It's not competing with human health vaccination protocols.
So no, zoo animals aren't getting human vaccines, and people can't take this vaccine because it's made for animals. These claims are false. Will you verify? I'm Jason Puckett.